You're listening to World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world. And here are your hosts, Aingeal Rose and Ahonu.
You are very welcome. I am Ahonu, and this is my lovely Aingeal Rose. Today we have our special guest and friend Penny Kelly back with us again for a short but pungent, potent interview. And we're going to talk about what, Aingeal Rose?
Earth changes that are going on with the sun and the Sumerian tablets.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about, in a little bit more detail too, the effect of those earth changes, and particularly also about coronal mass ejections, sunspots, the effect it's having on us in terms of our consciousness and not only on the physical earth. And then we're also going to particularly zone in on what it is about the Anunnaki and the Sumerian tablets that they may want to come back for and what they might be looking for and how that may affect us. So we're in for a great time.
So stay tuned.
So there were lots of heavy duty stuff today. So, yeah. So anyways, it's good to see you.
Right.
And I was actually looking forward, to this whole conversation. It's like, oh, wow, this is a timely topic and or whatever. If we range way off topic, that's fine with me too.
Well, there's always that possibility that we go anywhere with this. And that's what I love too, because it is so vast, and also our audience, yours as well as ours, are interested in all kinds of things, as long as it's to do with consciousness and growth of awareness and spirituality and what's going on in the world. Yeah.
And they don't mince words for 1 second. What about this? What about that?
Yeah.
I'm like,
right.
oh, yeah. It's a good thing.
Tell us, Aingeal Rose, what it is. Aingeal Rose is keen to uncover a few things that we've been playing with lately.
Well, I first want to talk about earth changes, Penny, because we listen to Stephen Burns, and he's a geophysicist on YouTube, right? Yep. And he's basically saying how the sun's kind of gone crazy right now. And he says he just showed a picture of a huge plasma blast from the sun and numerous solar corona holes. So he said it's very unusual how this hasn't happened for many, many years. So
that's true.
I guess I want to ask you, are we headed for a micronova, or what do you think is going on with the sun?
I think we're headed for a 1-2 punch that involves first the pole shift and then the micronova, maybe a decade later.
Okay.
So, yeah, we are in, we came at a very interesting time to live on this mud ball. And we have a lot of signs that are happening in terms of the pole shift. And I actually had a list. Hang on a second here. Yeah. I have a list of like 17 things that are signs of what to look for. And the list actually started out with 12, and we've already completed or have seen 9 of those signs.
Wow.
So if you want to talk about that, you want to hear what the signs are?
Sure. Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this in some ways it involves civilizational karma and planetary karma. But most people, I'm not sure that everybody believes in karma. It's, it's like, okay. So if people say, oh, this is just our karma, it's like, not really. This is the result of the natural system that we live in. So here we go. Number 1, the first sign, there will be the rise of waters from within the earth. Lakes will appear where lakes had disappeared long ago. Mm-hmm. And they're not talking about water coming from the sky. They're talking about water seeping up through the earth. And at the same time, a sinkhole's beginning to appear. and serious sinkholes. And so we have in this country been documenting those for the last, I don't know, 7, 8 years. Since 2019, people started documenting, oh, water, where's that water? Where's that water coming from? And so there's some actual evidence of that. That's number one. Number two, the sun setting and rising becomes erratic, and the sun appears to rise and set in a slightly different place at various times, unpredictable. And that is something that I actually noticed a long time ago. When we bought this place, and trees are not the most reliable indicator, but there were some trees way over on the western horizon. And like here was a group and here was a group. And the sun went down at the height of summer, right between those two trees, those two groups of trees. And that was like that for years. And we would always say, you know, that's how we know we're at the height of summer, when the sun is going down behind those two, or between those two sets of trees. And then we quit watching for, you know, a while. I don't know how long, maybe 8, 9, 10 years. Then for some reason, we were talking about the sun, the setting sun, and et cetera. We happened to be outside. Oh, we're going to watch the sun go down in what we call in between, in the crotch, between those two trees.
Nice.
And it didn't go down there. It went down way north. And we were like, oh, okay. Did some trees come up and fill in? No, that gap was still there. So then we thought, okay, there must be something wrong with, did we remember correctly? So we're thinking that, you know, we're at fault. And then probably the year after that, I happened to see several interviews that people had done with Inuit and people up around the Arctic Circle. And they were saying the sun is not coming up in the same place. It's not going down where it has always gone down. The wind is coming at a different angle, and they had photos of these little humps of snow that would form, and they would form almost like this pointer system. And they said we used to be able to get to our hunting grounds by following those pointer systems, by following the wind, and that doesn't work anymore. We don't get there. We don't arrive where we think we're going to arrive. And so I did some measuring and thought, we have moved 7 degrees already. So then, you know, it's like, well, nobody else is talking about that. Maybe I'm just all wrong. And then that, you know, it's like, okay, so the sun's doing something different there. The third thing is that birds fall from the sky in huge flocks. And we've all seen that. They fall. They did some, what do you call it? Autopsies on birds, big flocks of birds that just fell from the sky, all dead. Right. And what the scientists found was that they were exhausted. They flew until they couldn't fly anymore.
Because their navigation system was off, right? Is that what?
That's right.
So they just kept flying.
That's right.
Yeah.
They never got to where they thought they were going.
Yeah.
They couldn't use the magnetic field to navigate. And then, you know, whales, sometimes a whole pod of whales would end up, or just dolphins or whatever on shore, had swum right up onto the beach. It's like, wait, where were we going? So the birds fall from the sky was number 3. Number 4, there's an increase in earthquakes and volcano eruptions, serious earthquakes and serious volcano eruptions. And we're seeing that all over the place.
Right.
A lot of stuff we're just waking up. And then number 5 is some of the stars appear to shift position. And the report is that Polaris is not where it used to be, not quite where it used to be. And so because the stars had started shifting, the geophysics were off, and airports were having to change their headings, whatever they put out to help their airplanes. So that's number 5. And then number 6 is there are massive fish die-offs and the expansion of ocean dead zones. And my thought was, wow, we've been told that it's our fault that we're having ocean dead zones. Maybe it's not. Maybe we're not at fault. But those massive fish die-offs, they've had those in Japan, in China, all kinds of stuff. And in China, just recently, I was watching a thing in the backyards of people. All of a sudden, the backyard began to erupt and bubble with this hot mud. And it was maybe only 5 feet in diameter, but man, if my backyard started to do that, I'd be freaking out. So it's like, oh. So then that was number 6, ocean dead zones and massive fish die-off. Number 7 is the aurora borealis can be seen at lower and lower altitudes, or lower and lower latitudes, not altitudes. And that has been happening for the last 2 years. And when it gets to the point that they're seeing the aurora borealis at the equator, and it happens weeks in a row, that's serious, okay? Then it's getting to be pretty serious. So that's number 7. Number 8 is that time seems wrong. The seasons are either early or late, or we skip seasons altogether. Go right from winter to summer, or, something like that. The moon does not track normally, or it does not mark days correctly. So when we think we're going to have a full moon or a new moon, it's off by some hours or a day or so. And so that, the seasons coming early or late, or just skipping seasons, we have noticed that, on the farm a lot. So that's number 8. Number 9 is the invisible shield fails. Now, the invisible shield is the magnetic field around the planet. And when that fails, then fire, what they say is fire from above reaches the ground. And that really means that now radiation begins to be able to hit plants and change DNA, hit animals and change DNA, kill animals, kill plants, kill people, all of a sudden. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100%, but I'm fairly confident that when that starts reaching the planet, we get huge run-ups in the what do you call that? The planet's normal, 7.8 hertz that we operate
Schumann
at.
resonance.
The what?
The Schumann resonance.
That goes up ridiculously when you get a huge amount of radiation pouring in. So we're seeing that. It's like huge amounts, huge jumps in that resonance. And people don't feel good, or they have heart attacks and strokes. Blood pressure goes up when that radiation hits. So that is already showing lots of signs of failing. And then number 10, something that happens in the atmosphere. And it's the best way to describe it is that the atmosphere kind of splits. It isn't solid, and it splits because of the magnetic fields that the atmosphere is actually diverge from one another. And when that happens, light refracts differently. And when it refracts differently, you'll see things like the horizon is up in the sky, or there's a city floating, it's not on the ground, or things like that. Or a car driving along and it's in the air, and it just is an optical illusion. So, and that's number 10. And just last week, I think, or the week before, there was a video podcast that I saw. Some young girl was, I think it was called Earth Pulse Forecast. And she was talking about the atmosphere, and she said, and we're seeing something really strange with the atmosphere. It's like it almost split. And I was like, yeah, that's gets to be a pretty serious condition. So that at that point, when the sky splits and doesn't repair again, there's only weeks left to change something, to do something, to get yourself to higher ground, blah, blah, blah. So then number 12, that's number 11, is at this point, be aware that there's only weeks left before the shift. And then number 12 is the silence. Wait, that's not number 11. Number 11 is the silence. And what happens is all sound stops. There's no bird song. Animals don't make any noise. There's no navigation. Compasses stop working. And the magnetic field just drops to almost nothing. It's called the silence. And following that, there's a deep hum that comes from the earth itself. And it affects people's chest. They can feel it in their chest. When that hum starts, the birds that wouldn't fly and the animals that wouldn't move all begin to flee to high ground. At that point, we have days left, not weeks. After the silence and the deep vibration, there's days left. And then that's it. That's it. So there is a date given here. It says when the moon, Venus, and Mars conjunct a particular star in Draco, then that's when the shift will happen next. They have tracked that date, that conjunction of moon, Mars, and Venus to March 14th, 2029. So it says that at that point, by the time we get to March 29th, 2029, you better be where you're going to be, because you're not going to be able to go anywhere after that. GPS is gone. Satellites are gone. No communication at all. No phones. No weather forecast. No planes will fly because they need GPS. Modern planes cannot fly without GPS. Ships need to know how to do dead reckoning, or they're going to end up on the rocks. However, coastlines will change. Rivers will reverse. Mountains may rise where valleys were, and it will take 50 years to stabilize. However, within 2 weeks, there'll be no supply chains, no power, no grocery stores, and everything within 100 kilometers of the coastline is gone. And that's just the way the planet keeps herself healthy.
Jesus Christ. Penny, we thought we were going to have some fun today. You're a harbinger of doom, is what you are.
I'm just telling you what I've been learning.
I know. Yes.
Well, it's interesting because, we wanted to talk about some of the Sumerian tablets. And the first one we listened to had said that there would be a pole shift in 2029.
Yeah.
That was the first one we heard.
Oops. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'm not a harbinger of doom. It's Sumerian tablets.
I'm only winding you up, Penny.
And it also said the Anunnaki were coming back in 2028, like they were waiting for us to have 8 billion people on the planet. And we're there. So supposedly they're supposed to come back and take back what they gave us. They wouldn't They never said what that was, but so that's in 2028, which is only a few years away.
Oh, okay. They would come back and they would take what they gave us.
Take back what they gave us. Do you have any idea what that might be?
No, but I had heard something different, that they would be back, and not to take back what they gave us, but to harvest the people who had done the work of raising consciousness and were ready to move to another realm. So,
That sounds better.
yeah. Yeah.
They also describe the Anunnaki as these short beings that had luminous skin and and had like one eye across their forehead that was kind of reflective, and that if you were near them, the vibration of them would make your bones hurt. Remember that?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That was the other thing they said.
Okay.
I had always thought they were these tall beings, you know?
Yeah.
So
well,
yeah, I know. So and the other thing we heard last night, which I wanted to ask you about, is they were talking about the death process, and they were saying that when you die, there's 3 gates, and the first one is towards the light, and they said don't go there. The second one was, what was the second one, huh?
The second one was a river of healing, supposedly, and both of those were designed to be temptation and traps, because they were well, the first one with the light was that it was attractive and you felt it was a draw and it was pulling you towards it. But of course, it was just a harvesting of consciousness. And then the river was all about healing, and your family would be calling you and all of that. And you'd go there because you want that reunion. But that also apparently was also a trap. And then the third one was just
a normal door.
A normal door that you would pass by and pay no attention to. What they were saying is that that is actually the door, but it's designed that they couldn't not show it to you. But it was up to your awareness to know that that was the right one. And what I found interesting about that
was so that you don't be recycled again. The first 2 doors are aims to recycle you back in.
Well, I have some comments to make about that. So
well,
that's what we wanted to ask you about.
Yeah, my own feeling about it was that, lately, as you know, there's been a lot of people coming with near-death experiences and so on, and they all talk about this light, you see? And I found it, at all of those stories too that you read and hear and see online and so on about near-death experiences, they all talk about it being an absolutely wonderful experience, full of love and joy and happiness and all that. But yet, these Sumerian tablets were explaining that that is exactly the trap. That is what it's designed to do. So, there's an element of confusion there for us, and I'd love for you if you could try and clarify that for us.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not real organized in terms of being ready to present this, but yeah, there is that light. And I have a couple of times said to people, don't go into the light. However, since then, I have come to realize, and I'm working on this. That's why it's not real organized, because I'm working on it right now. But that paranoia about the light and about getting recycled, that's not a bad thing, okay? And the family reunion and the river and all that, that's not a bad thing either. There's and this goes back to all of my conversations and the work that I was doing back at the time. I was talking with Bob Monroe, and he was doing his own research and I was doing mine. And I remember he said some things that I just kind of ignored. And then years later, like 25, 30 years later, I can't remember who I was having I was out of the body, having a conversation with somebody. I had just recently gone to meet these beings that I call the super beings. And they said to me, "Where's the rest of you?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? What do you mean?" What do you mean? Here I am. What more do I need? And they must have asked me that several times, 3, 4 times. And then they were kind of silent. And then I was like kind of unsettled. And it was clear after that meeting, I think I wrote about that in volume 1 of Consciousness and Energy. I'd have to go back and look at it again. But in that conversation, when I came out of that, I came back with this kind of a half memory of having this conversation with Bob Monroe about having to collect the rest of the parts of ourselves. And I thought, I don't know what that means. So then, so some more time goes by, another decade or so, and I'm doing some research, and I'm having a conversation with the sun. And I think, I think it was the sun. I've had numerous conversations with the sun, because everything is consciousness. And if you can match their frequency, you can communicate. So anyway, this conversation was, in a nutshell, that we had all these lives, that we were busy collecting lives and experiences and wisdom and grace. And one single life was nothing. It was nothing. That it was like a drop in an ocean. And it wasn't enough to move on with, because the ocean of consciousness out there was pretty, you had to be ready to deal with that ocean of consciousness. And there's all kinds of stuff in that ocean. Okay, we'll leave that sit for a minute. So one of the things that was said in that conversation was, remember me talking about, I had uncovered the fact that there were like 10,000 versions of myself.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and some of them were really highly developed, and some of them were actual past lives, and some of them were just these wispy things. And I was like, oh my God, what a mess. I have created a mess. But that turned out to be not the case. The task that we have in front of us as human beings is to move into this system, which is an incubator. It's an incubator for higher consciousness beings and gods, plural, the God state. And you can't move, you can't get anywhere close to those higher consciousness beings and that God state if you don't have just this incredibly broad experience or set of experiences. And so this incubator, which is we call our world here on the earth, was set up to allow people to come in here and get all the experience they need, and to keep creating themselves, versions of themselves, new lives, new wisdom, new grace, getting to the point that you have purified yourself, I guess is the best. You've cleaned away all of the stupid stuff that we do here. Mm-hmm. You've eliminated all of the desire for earthly things, the things that people chase after here, or the incredible waste of time and love and energy, etc.
Yes.
And so we keep accumulating, we keep coming back here. That's the recycling, and that's what people have called the prison planet. It's not a prison at all. You can't go any further if you don't have enough of yourself in a pile to be able to have everything communicating and everything working together. So
Does that connect in some way, Penny, with the Native American Indian idea of picking up soul pieces so that you're becoming whole?
Oh,
is that the same?
Yeah, that's kind of the same. I don't know anything about the American Indian process of soul, picking up pieces of soul, but it's that same concept.
Right.
So I'll kind of bring it to a close by saying, in that conversation, with the sun, what I understood, what the sun actually told me was that when we had collected enough of ourselves, we would begin to generate light, just like the sun. And that light would be this beautiful golden light, and that we not only would we need to collect ourselves to generate that light, but the more pieces of the self that we collected and put back together in a cooperative oneness, that's the one world that we're trying to get to, not the goofy one world order thing that everybody's talking about out there. But when we had each person that came back into that oneness added to the power of the individual. Beautiful. And that the result was an incredibly powerful being. Beautiful. And that if ever so often somebody achieves that and shows up here and says, this is what you need to do. This is how you do it. And
let us take a quick
Yes, I'm coming back quite a few more times.
I was going to say, let us take a quick little break here, Penny, because when we come back, we do want to talk more about that in greater detail, because we do feel that it does need a little bit more explanation and understanding for people, because I think that's what's taught in all of the religions to some degree. Like, obviously, we're led to believe a lot of nonsense, but they're all talking about a heaven, let's call it, or a nirvana, or a glorious future. And we just need to know how best to fit in with that, how best to make sure that we're on the right track, as it were. Yeah. Okay, let's take a little break. We'll be right back after this.
Okay.
Well, that was enlightening, wasn't it?
That was something else, wasn't it? Oh my God.
Always a great time with Penny.
Yeah, always. Oh my God. Absolutely wonderful. Well, do please share widely and join us also on the World of Empowerment. We have a community that's growing, and we would love to have you join us and participate. It's really about sharing and nurturing each other in this great time of change, and you'll find that on worldofempowerment.com.
That's right.
So, till next time, as Aingeal Rose says.
See you later.
Till next time.
Okay.
Take care.
Upward and onward.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Aingeal Rose and Ahonu on World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world.